I can now ship an entire customer roadmap in the time it used to take me to ship a single feature. That's not exaggeration, that's measurable, week over week reality. A few months ago, I showed you my dev infrastructure, which includes elements like Codex, agents.md, and Playwright MCP server. Today, I want to show you the process that runs on top of that infrastructure, the exact loop I now use to take a wave of customer feedback and ship the entire response in hours instead of months. Let me break it down. Quick orientation before we dive in. A few months back, I made a video about the dev stack I switched to, which now includes the Codex desktop app, agents.md file, auto commits, Playwright MCP, and automated dev migrations. That was infrastructure. It was about what tools I'm using and how they're wired together. This video is going to be different. What I'm sharing in this video is different because this is the process that sits on top of that infrastructure. It's about how I use those tools day to day to actually move customer feedback into production at speed. Same toolkit with an evolved discipline. I'm also now using Codex 5.5 with high thinking enabled, which has been a noticeable jump in quality, especially on more complex agentic work. If you haven't watched the infrastructure video, you might want to start there. It's linked in the description below. But you'll still get value from this one, even if you're using a different stack, and that's because the principles here are transferable. Here's the whole loop in one picture. 6 steps, they form a cycle that runs every time I get a wave of customer feedback. Step 1, collect feedback and prioritize it into a roadmap. Step 2, send the roadmap back to advisors and customers for approval. Step 3, brief Codex once on the full roadmap. Step 4, Codex builds, tests, and loops on each feature autonomously. Step 5, Codex hands each feature off to me with specific testing instructions and sample files I'll need. Step 6, I do manual verification, commit, and we move on to the next feature. When the entire roadmap is done, we ship to production and run a smoke test to make sure nothing broke. That ships the wave. Then it's back to step 1 when the next wave of customer feedback comes in. The key insight here is that I'm the bottleneck only in 2 places, which are prioritization at the start and manual verification near the end. Everything else is the agent. That's how the time math works out. Let's break down each step. Step 1 is all about collection and prioritization. I gather all the latest feedback from advisors and customers, including emails, Slack threads, calls, notes, support tickets, whatever I have that's come in since the last roadmap. Then I dump all of that into one document. Now, the critical part, prioritization, is depth-driven, not volume-driven. The rule is simple. If multiple customers are asking for the same thing, that item bumps up. If one customer is asking for something 5 times in different ways, that's still only one voice. If 5 different customers are asking for the same thing at once, that's a strong signal. Depth of feedback equals priority. I order the entire list this way. Top items get built first. Single customer one-off requests go to a parking lot. They're not rejected, they're just deprioritized for now until they get a second voice or perhaps become a single customer paid customization, which is another great way to evaluate how important that functionality is to them. This is the same wait for the second voice principle I've talked about before. It's the one thing that protects you from building one customer's bespoke workflow while ignoring what the broader market is telling you. What you end up with is a clean, orderly list ready to brief into Codex. That's the input that everything follows. Step 2 is the gate that I learned the hard way not to skip. Before I touch any code, I send the prioritized roadmap back to the customers and advisors who fed me those inputs. Not the full doc, a brief summary. A couple of bullet points per item. Ordered, easy to scan in a few minutes and provide feedback. And the ask to them is simple. Here's what I heard, here's the order I'm planning to build it in. Approve, adjust, or flag anything that I got wrong. This step does 3 things. 1, it catches any misinterpretations before they cost me a week of building the wrong thing. 2, it makes customers feel heard, which deepens that relationship. And 3, it gives me an explicit green light. If they approved item 3 and I ship item 3, they can't suddenly say, oh, that's not what I meant, because we agreed on the summary in writing. This single feedback gate has saved me more rework than any other discipline I've added. Skipping it feels faster, but trust me, it's not. Step 3 is briefing Codex on the entire roadmap once, not feature by feature, once and up front. I'm running Codex 5.5 with high thinking enabled. That combo is critical for this kind of multi-feature autonomous work loop. Lower thinking models are fine for individual quick tasks, but for sustained sequential building across a whole roadmap, high thinking will pay for itself with fewer mistakes. The brief contains the roadmap in order, the success criteria for each item, and standing instructions that apply to all of them. These standing instructions include things like Use the existing patterns in the codebase, like the agent's MD file. Run the test suite after each change. Run the Playwright MCP server to do browser testing. Fix anything those tests catch before flagging the feature as ready, and only flag a feature as ready when both the test suite and the browser tests have passed. I also tell Codex to work the roadmap sequentially, one feature at a time, commit when done, and then move on to the next. This sequencing matters because it gives me clean review points and clean rollback boundaries. If feature 3 breaks something, I'm not also unwinding features 4 and 5 because those haven't been built yet. That one detailed brief is the only context dump that I do. From there, the agent just runs autonomously. Step 4 is where the magic happens. Codex starts working through the roadmap, and for each item, it does the same internal loop. Build the feature, run the unit and integration test suite, and if anything fails, fix it. Run the suite again. Repeat until it passes. Then, and this is the part I want bootstrappers to internalize, it runs my Playwright MCP server. That means it actually opens a real browser and clicks through the feature like a real user would, and verifies the UI does what it's supposed to do. If the browser tests catch a bug, a layout break, a click that does nothing, a form that doesn't submit, it fixes that too. Then runs the browser tests again, loops until they pass. Only when both the unit suite and the browser tests are green does Codex flag the feature as ready for my review, and not before. The looping behavior is the unlock. The agent does the boring iteration on bugs that I used to do by hand. I never see the broken intermediate states. I only see the feature when it's already passing every automated check. That alone has reclaimed hours of my week. This is what people miss about agentic coding done right. It's not just the AI writes the code. It's the AI writes the code and verifies it and fixes its own mistakes and only bothers me when it's actually working. And that's the leap. Step 5 is the handoff, when Codex declares a feature ready. It doesn't just say done, it hands me a full test plan. That handoff has a few specific pieces. 1. A short description of what was built and what changed. 2. Explicit step-by-step instructions for me to manually test the feature myself. Things like log in as a test user, navigate to the billing page, click new invoice, fill in these fields, click save, and then verify the invoice appears in this list. 3. If my manual test requires sample files, a PDF to upload, a CSV to import, a sample image, Codex will generate those sample files for me. I no longer need to distract my focus to find a test asset that the agent could have just created for me. 4. A list of edge cases I should specifically poke at to make sure the agent didn't miss anything obvious. This handoff turns my manual verification from what should I actually check into follow these 5 steps. It probably cuts my testing time down by 2/3 and sometimes more. I'm still doing the manual test because no agent should ship a product without a human eye on it, but the agent has eliminated all the friction around figuring out how to test. Step 6 is mine, the manual verification. I open the feature, I run through the agent's test plan, and I make sure the feature looks and acts the way that it should. This is the step I will never automate away. Even with great unit tests and great browser tests, I want to see the feature with my own eyes before it goes near production. There are aesthetic, judgments, micro UX decisions, and product feel elements that no test suite is likely to catch. That's what my manual passes for. And if it passes my review, then we commit it. If something is off, I send it back to Codex with notes and we iterate again. Once committed, Codex moves automatically onto the next feature on the roadmap. This sequencing is part of why velocity stays high. While I'm reviewing feature 1, Codex hasn't started feature 2 yet. It's waiting for my green light. That keeps the queue clean and prevents tangled changes. But because the reviews are fast and the agent is autonomous on everything else, the throughput is dramatically higher than the old days of me writing every line of code and doing all the testing myself. The loop continues until every item in the roadmap is built, tested, and committed. And when the full roadmap is done in dev, I ship to production. This is still a human-gated push, the same rule I talked about in the infrastructure video. Codex doesn't push to production, I do. After deploy, I run a quick smoke test in production, mostly checking critical paths. Login, billing, the workflow we just changed, a couple of high traffic pages. If anything's broken, I roll back immediately. If everything's good, I let the customers and the advisors know their feedback is now live. That message back to them is important because it closes the loop. They gave me the feedback, they approved the roadmap, and now they see the result in production. Their trust deepens, the relationship strengthens. They start sending me more feedback because they know it actually leads somewhere. And then the next wave comes in. Back to step 1. Another roadmap, another cycle. The throughput this gives me as a solo bootstrapper is unreal compared to what I could do a year ago. I'm shipping in days what used to take weeks. I'm shipping in weeks what used to take months. The customer feedback loop has tightened from we'll get to it next year to you'll see it on Tuesday. That changes everything about how customers feel about your product. If you want my entire completely free playbook about launching a successful SaaS business, sign up for my free email course at bootstrappersparadise.com. And if you want help validating the SaaS idea you'd run this loop on, my SaaS idea validator is also free at bootstrappersparadise.com. Look for it in the free tools section. I'll also include links in the description below. Remember, collect feedback, prioritize ruthlessly. Brief the agent once, then let it loop. Verify yourself, ship, and then repeat.